Welcome back to the United Pubcast for your match preview, Real Sociedad against Manchester United. Apologies for the delay, but I appreciate everyone in the live chat. We're just discussing one or two things pubcast related in regards to the upcoming World Cup. Obviously, Manchester United will have a break. Well, I've seen they have announced a sort of a bit of a friendly, I think, away in Spain. Obviously, travel to Spain as we speak, pretty much. But the pubcast will continue throughout the World Cup, so stay tuned for one or two things we do have planned. But Larry, before the World Cup comes around, Man United do have. I was thinking in terms of, is it the biggest game this season so far? And I was thinking, well, it probably is in regards to the situation we currently find ourselves in. However, I was thinking back and I really had to say probably the Liverpool match was probably bigger in terms of if we went three losses on the bounce to start the season. I think if we cast our mind back to that was probably the biggest game this season. However, if we do look at it now in terms of the situation we do find ourselves in and what we could find ourselves in February when the knockout stages do come around, it's hard to say or hard to argue against that this is actually the biggest game of the season so far.
Well, it's massive. It literally means that United can have a smoother run in terms of winning the Europa League or not. And it's ultimately, how would you define this round of 32? It almost feels like I guess it's almost a qualifying round to the final 16. I guess you could treat it that way. And it's like, well, you qualified, but not really. And your reward for qualifying is versing a side from the Champions League that will probably be motivated to prove or put some wrongs right. So it is important for United to try and get a big result here, Tom.
The two games, really, I think that's what, and look, rightly so, in terms of the fixture congestion. Obviously, it's a congested season already. Then you add the fixtures onto I fully understand and agree with everyone in regards to that's why they don't want these two extra games. The two games doesn't really bother me too much. In regards to what's the difference between Champions League and Europa League, obviously there's the Thursday-Sunday debate in regards to how that affects players. But in regards to the extra fixtures, there's potentially two extra fixtures if we go the long route in regards to this. So I've never really found it too much of a sort of hurdle in regards to having those extra fixtures. My issue is the opposition. You're going to face stronger opposition. I'm a bit of a coward in regards to this. I want the easiest route possible to the final. I don't want to have these big ties. I want to be playing bloody Ammonia FC in the Europa League semi-final. I want the easiest route possible, and that is my concern in regards to trying to avoid this round of 32. But if we do look at it in regards to our record in Spain, tricky one. Obviously, now casting my back, we do actually have in recent times. I think our last trip there was obviously Madrid, Atletico Madrid, which didn't go our way. Anthony Elanga got the goal. We did have a result there. Michael Carrick in Villarreal last season, and then obviously before that, I think it was probably the Europa League under Jose Mourinho, our last victory in Spain. But even when Man United were flying, Larry, away in Spain, tricky times for Manchester United.
Well, our fixtures. Our history tells us that it is a difficult fixture, Tom. I can think of Real Sociedad most recently, Sevilla under Mourinho. I'm sure there's been Atletico Madrid as recently as last season.
Remember what Athletic Bilbao did to us?
Bilbao with Fergie, and the list goes on and on. United struggle in Spain. What I will say, though, is Ten Hag's got us. It feels different. I don't know. I don't want to disregard history. But in saying that, Tom, you have to say that with Ten Hag, the way we're playing our football, it almost feels a little bit different. I'm almost willing to put the statistics and the history to the side because the way in which United play at the moment is systemic. I think we play with – we've always heard, particularly since Fergie's left, what's United's identity? I think we can say that under Erik Ten Hag, United are a front foot side. We play with structure. We have it. We both can sit here and say we play with inverted fullbacks. So there are some things that you do identify with. And because of that, United attack systemically. Because of that, I then take more confidence in saying, I don't really worry if we're going to play in Spain or Kazakhstan or wherever it might be. It's ultimately going to come down to which team can out-tactic the other.
I was watching Borat on YouTube a couple of hours ago. A video popped up on my feed in regards to an interview with him when you mentioned Kazakhstan. But forgive my rudeness, which I do agree in terms of your thinking in regards to the approach under Erik Ten Hag and how as fans that does make you feel a little bit more confident. And I'll just say good day to some people in the live chat. Apologies for leaving a bit late. But Rob, in regards to feeling confident, I'm quietly confident for some stupid reason. He also comes up as well saying 50 years since we've won by more than 2 goals in Spain. If someone in the live chat, Rob, you're probably all over it. Larry, you might remind me. What is the actual result we do need. Is it we need to win by 2 goals, or do we need to score 2 goals and win the match? Like 1-0 won't be enough. So do get in the chat. I should have researched this before. If you do know the equation that Manchester United does need, I'm sure it's on the Man United app. I'm sure it's one of the headlines there. What do they need to achieve in Spain? So do let me know in the live chat, because that obviously throws an approach into the game in terms of when we get that goal, what do we need to go and do? George, good to see, mate. Play Casemiro. As of late, we've had issues with Spanish teams who remember La Liga speed. If that makes any difference, I'm sure he's my first name on the team sheet, Casemiro. I think that'll become interesting when we talk about Cristiano Ronaldo and if he should play in regards to, I'm sure he has a fantastic record against Sociedad when he's at Real Madrid. Dion here in regards to that Europa League draw, yeah, you could very well see Barca or potentially Ajax. I think Ajax is potentially in the Europa League. Let me know, but Barca or Ajax, I'm all over that one, definitely. Emad Ola, good to see you, mate. Matt, in the live chat, I haven't seen you in a while. Hope all is well, mate. Good to see you. Hope all is keeping well with everyone. And Larry, before we get into this, we'll get to start 11s and predictions and everything. I think Rob just makes a point here. So you need to win by 2 goals. So it will be interesting. It throws a good dynamic into the game. Sometimes these Europa League group stages can peter out. But in regards to Man United need to go on to win the game and score goals, it will give us something to look forward to on a Friday morning. I think it's 5 a.m. on a Friday morning here, though, which is a tricky one. But I'm sure all of us will be up. But Larry, before we get into starting 11s and a few more sort of in-depth discussions around the game, is there anything sort of tickles your fancy or catches the eye in regards to Man United that you want to discuss ahead of kickoff?
It'll really just be interesting to see what lineup Erik ten Hag goes with. Tom, you and I discussed offline around Martial's fitness. Good to see the Frenchman back in training. Let me then put the question to you. Does Martial demand a start this game? Do you think it's important for him to... Is it just a matter of getting some minutes? Or given the importance of this fixture, do you think he maybe returns on the bench and with a look to the weekend?
Yeah, it's hard. This is obviously recorded and we're having this chat maybe a few hours before Man United do get on the plane to go to Spain, and I'm sure we'll get a list of which of the travelling players. I'm sure Anthony Martial will be a part of that. If he's included in the starting 11, Erik ten Hag might allude to that potentially in the press conference. I'm not sure. You asked, does he demand a spot? I think we've both come around to the conclusion if he is fit, play him. But in regards to is he match fit and how does Erik ten Hag prioritise this over Aston Villa in the Premier League, I think it will be interesting. But does he demand a spot? Well, look, in regards to performances, he has showed this season, yes. However, Ronaldo scored more recently. Marcus Rashford has scored more recently. So they've demanded a spot over Anthony Martial at the moment. And my question back to you, before we get into starting 11s, and I'm sure Rashford and Ronaldo's name will pop up, in regards to Anthony Martial, we've had this debate in regards to, okay, he's our number one striker. Whatever side of the fence you sit on, we both sit here and say, going forward, Anthony Martial is the main number 9. Let's say he's going to come in and score a goal and play well, but we know that guarantees he's going to miss the next 3 weeks. Do you persist and give Ronaldo more minutes and Marcus Rashford more minutes so they're more prepared over those next 3 weeks? Or do you just take the result now and the better performance now, but it would come at a price further down the track if someone's maybe not getting the minutes they need in the meantime? Yeah, because unfortunately he's going to be injured. We just have to accept it. I hate it, but we have to accept it.
Look, I'd rather not be cynic. I like to lean on the positive side of things in life, Tom. And look, Martial has this every season, and he's had it since he's arrived at United. He has that spell where he's just out for a little bit. I'm hoping that he gets it out of the way now. I don't expect him to go away with France for the World Cup. So the hope will then be that with the benefit of having a month without football, I'm sure United will play games. I think it's already come out. They've organised a match against the La Liga side. But you'd hope with that benefit, he'll just be able to condition himself and hopefully have a strong second half of the season. Because when he has played, he has looked brilliant, which Erik ten Hag has alluded to himself.
Yeah, no, it's hard to disagree. In regards to, we'll come on at starting 11s now, and there's a few other talking points in regards to the game, but I'll bring them up in the live chat. Do let us know what you think of the starting 11s. Now, I'll start with mine. Usually I'll go to yours, Larry, but I'll start with mine. There's only 1 or 2 changes, and the main difference, again, this is in between predicted and preferred. I'm not quite sure. I'll talk myself through it and get your thoughts. So get everyone's thoughts in the live chat. The only real talking point here is Maguire and Lindelof. Now, I would probably prefer Victor Lindelof. I think Lindelof, in terms of the way we're going to, in terms of the threats Sociedad are going to provide Man United, I don't think they're going to be lumping balls into the box. However, in regards to you talk about the demand, does Anthony Martial sort of demand to start when he hasn't been playing? Does Maguire deserve to be dropped after his performance against West Ham? You'd probably say no. Now, is that enough? Obviously, it's a cutthroat business. If Victor Lindelof is better suited, Victor Lindelof should be the one playing. I think this is more along the lines of a predicted 11. I think it'll be Maguire and Martinez at the back. Now, I'm not sort of going into that match absolutely dreading it because I think Maguire performed quite well. And obviously, Lisandro Martinez provides me full of confidence. But just your thoughts on there, because I'll just throw up your starting 11 here. I'll go back and forth. You've obviously included Victor Lindelof in your back four. Again, that's a preference for me, would probably go along those lines. However, I just think Erik ten Hag, off the back of that West Ham performance, will go for reinstating the captain in the starting 11.
Yeah, I think he will go Maguire. I personally don't agree with it. I think, Tom, given the importance of this game, let me then argue this point with you. If we consider this game to be the most important of the season, is there not a case to say Lindelof has actually deputized for Rafael Varane quite efficiently? And if he is fit, does Lindelof start? So for me, that's the approach I've taken, and that's why I think actually, I don't think Maguire was poor midweek against West Ham. You can't tell me he filled you with confidence. And because of that, I'd be opting to go Lindelof. I think Lindelof Martinez got a good dynamic, and that's the way I'd be going. In saying that, if Maguire is picked, obviously you back him and you hope he has a good performance.
Do you think a lot of it might come down to, we talk about Anthony Martial, and we'll probably get a little bit more information when Erik ten Hag has his press conference, but with Victor Lindelof, if he was ill in the last game, what's his... Now, I'm sure he's fit enough to come back. If he travels, he'll be fit enough to play. But in terms of just sharpness, now Harry Maguire's probably not the sharpest defender in the shed. However, in regards to he did play against West Ham, Victor Lindelof was, and he was sat at home. I'm just thinking, will that play in the minds, even if, okay, both are fit and ready to go, what does Erik ten Hag view the just sort of sharpness of both players if he's coming off an illness?
Well, I mean, he threw Harry Maguire in after not playing for the best part of a month. So I think Lindelof can survive a week. You know what I mean? So just depending on how he obviously recovers from his illness. But I would think if both men are fit for this game, I'd be opting to go Lindelof personally. But we'll wait and see.
This comment here, George, remind me at the end of the chat.
Just given that Sociedad have a smaller team that is a little bit more agile, wouldn't you prefer to go with someone like Lindelof? We know that Maguire's strengths are obviously...
Oh, no, that's what I think in regards to the dangers they'll possess. Yeah, I do think I would prefer Victor Lindelof. However, yeah, I just think off the back of not playing, Harry Maguire not deserving to be dropped after the performance. I can just see a situation where Harry Maguire, how much the influence of the captain's armband plays in that, I'm not sure. I think a little bit, but then I say, well, he's dropped Ronaldo and he's dropped players like that, so maybe not. So it'll be interesting. But Chris, good to see you in the chat. Hope all is well. George, come back to this in regards to there is a bit of a World Cup discussion I want a little bit later on at the end of the chat. I just saw there was a 55-man squad for England. How they need that many, I don't know. Apparently, you're saying Jadon Sancho was in that. Do let me know, but touch on that a little bit later. But I want to bring your starting 11 up again, and we're both got the same front three. Now, I just want to sort of strap yourself in for a little bit of a debate here, because I don't think we've discussed this since sort of the incident in terms of doing match previews or match reviews sort of after, when was it who was the match we drew with when Ronaldo stormed off? What game was that? Wasn't Tottenham? Wasn't it? We're winning Tottenham. Yeah, we came on after the review here, and I called you out, said it was absolute nonsense. You said Ronaldo shouldn't play for Man United again. Cristiano Ronaldo's up front for you. Talk to me.
Oh, Tom, you enjoyed saying that, didn't you? You said it with your chest puffed out a little bit. You enjoyed that one, didn't you?
Well, no, I think there is a bit of a look, because I knew I was right, and look, I knew at the time you were speaking through emotion, which all of us were. So you weren't wrong in what you were saying, but it was what I was saying in terms of, I think one of the lines you were saying, well, no, I stand by that. Charlie McNeil should play. Well, no. I was thinking that Cristiano Ronaldo was rightly punished by Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag dealt with the situation correctly. But ultimately, I did raise questions in regard, not to criticize Erik ten Hag, but I said this will have an effect in whatever way, whatever side of the coin it falls on. So I always thought there was a way back for Ronaldo. He has found a way back. So I'll ask you the question in regards to, is it a predicted? Is it a preferred? Have you changed your stance on the situation surrounding Ronaldo?
This is a predicted 11. I haven't changed my opinion on Ronaldo. I don't think he's been playing well for Manchester United. I don't think he played well at the weekend. And if Ten Hag opts to start Rashford up front or even chooses to start with Martial, I 100% support that decision. I don't think Ronaldo is worth his place at the moment. If you removed the identities of every player and just put numbers on their back, no one can sit here and tell me Ronaldo's had a good season.
Yeah,
Should
no,
be
that's a
starting.
valid point. I think my discussion in regards to we had back and forth on Facebook in Messenger in regards to the Ronaldo situation. My issue there is in regards to we'll discuss Eric Ten Hag's not treatment, but the situation surrounding Ten Hag and Ronaldo. And I said Eric Ten Hag is handling this situation very well. However, I do have questions in regards to how he is sort of dealing with the situation. And you said, well, I can't say Eric Ten Hag is doing a good job, but also raising questions and concerns. So you would sit here and say, yes, Eric Ten Hag is doing a good job, but then he's selecting the player who you would say shouldn't play for Manchester United again. So are you raising questions, which I think we're right to, in Eric Ten Hag, if he's doing the thing that you think shouldn't be happening?
Look, I'm not going to criticize Ten Hag. He knows the dynamic of the squad. He knows the impact of Ronaldo's influence on the players. And if he trusts that the players haven't been negatively impacted by his actions, then I support Eric Ten Hag in doing that. I obviously don't have the knowledge or the insight into what happens in the day-to-day at Carrington. So again, based on my emotion on that day, I maintain my view of he shouldn't play for United because he clearly places himself above the club. But in saying that, if Ten Hag supports him, I support him. I'm a Ronaldo fan. I'll be supporting him too.
No, fair point. Emad here. In regards to Maguire and Lindelof, does one semi-decent game warrant a start over someone who's played reasonably better when called? Well, look, it's a valid point. And look, I am going Victor Lindelof. If I preferred 11, I would go Victor Lindelof.
Let me
I just
ask
think
you this.
it'll be Harry Maguire.
This time next season, is Harry Maguire a Manchester United player?
I was thinking this in regards to the centre-back. I think if it was a situation around the wingers, you look at Jadon Sancho, Anthony Elanga, if they had this many issues with two wingers, one on the right, one on the left, no issue. At centre-back, though, two centre-backs, same dynamic in regards to numbers taken up in the squad, but it's a different dynamic in regards to you've got to sub your wingers every hour. So you're going to get chances to have a game here or there. At centre-back, in terms of Victor Lindelof at the moment, is arguably third choice, in my opinion, Harry Maguire fourth choice. If you're third or fourth choice, and with the ability those players have or the ambitions both Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire have personally, they won't be happy with that. So will they look to leave? So I'm looking at Harry Maguire's situation. At the moment, he's not in. I hold him at fourth choice, but he would obviously see himself as first, if not second choice. And I'm just thinking, will he look to potentially push a move away? Now, you could argue the finances, who on earth is going to pay what Manchester United will want from him. I assume Manchester United will want 50 or 60 million pounds from him, which isn't simply not going to happen. So is Harry Maguire happy to take a wage cut to continue on his footballing career elsewhere? That's a discussion for him and his agent to have. I'm not sure what the answer is. We've had that in regards to David De Gea. Will he take a reduced wage? I'm not sure. Harry Maguire will be interested in, and I'm not sure what his sort of personal ambitions are, but we're having that discussion about Harry Maguire, which I fully agree and fully understand. And look, I said this a couple of weeks ago, and I stand by it. As, look, I'm not a fan of Harry Maguire, but one of the people who defends him a little bit more, I do look at it and say, we're having this discussion about Maguire. Victor Lindelof, I think, is having the same discussion because I'm sure he wants to be first or second choice centre-back as well. And I'm thinking, what's his situation? Does he want to leave? And if Victor Lindelof is first out the door, he'll be far easier for Manchester United to offload. Well, that moves Harry Maguire up the pecking order, and you would say Harry Maguire's more likely to stay. So I'm just thinking in regards to that discussion, flip of a coin. I would suggest there is probably a good chance that he does go if he has the ambition to progress his career. We've seen it previously with English centre-backs, Phil Jones. He's very happy to sit there and take his wage. So you'd have to sit down with Harry Maguire and see what he wants.
I've said a lot of things about Harry Maguire. I don't think he's in the same boat as Phil Jones. I think he will want to play. And you can see he's taken a bruising. His ego's taken a bruising, as it would to any player. But look, I hope he turns it around, Tom. I just don't think he will, because United just under Ten Hag, this high line, he's just going to struggle. He's not mobile enough to play in that high line either. I think he gets exposed in one-on-one defending, which we saw in glimpses against West Ham. So, this isn't a knock on Harry Maguire as an individual. I just think as a player, we've seen his ceiling. And you know what? Criticism on the Manchester United recruitment department. If there was a foresight to become a possession-based side, he never should have been the player that the club looked to sign. But anyway, we are where we are. And this is why I'd say that when we sit here and we talk about our strongest 11 and rotating our 11, I can't sit here and make an argument for him to be in our strongest lineup. So,
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone at the moment would have him there. Obviously, look, unfortunately, Varane's not an option, so he does move up that pecking order. But fingers crossed, if he does play, he does get the job done. Matt reminded us here, Aaron Wan-Bissaka very much in a similar discussion. Swedish captain stays for him in regards to Lindelof. Sweden aren't at the World Cup, are they? So Victor Lindelof will get a bit of a rest. What do you think of this, Larry, in regards to Chris saying, I just going further into English centre-backs, we do look at Chris Smalling sort of rejuvenated his career going to Roma. I'm not saying Harry Maguire should go to Roma, but could you see a person like Harry Maguire, and it's hard to judge a book by its cover, but in terms of could you see him potentially going to the continent in regards to seeing what other sort of English players have done over sort of recent years, or do you think he's very someone who does want to stay in the Premier League?
No, I think Maguire's an England man through and through. I think he's definitely got the ability to play in the Premier League, but I see him playing in a side that's perhaps, I mean this in a really respectful way, I see him playing for a side that's probably going to challenge relegation, because the side that you look for big physical players who can be a threat at set pieces, that is Harry Maguire. That's where he thrives. I don't see him thriving in a progressive football side. We have no evidence to say that he does. So, yeah, all the best football he played at Leicester was as a counter-attacking football side.
Yeah, look, it's interesting in regards to, and we've had this discussion about Ronaldo in regards to ambition, in regards to what sort of traits does a manager need. It would be good if you could take the personality of Ronaldo away and just use his traits as like an impact striker. I need a goal last 20 minutes. Okay, bring him on. That's absolutely perfect for Erik ten Hag. Will the person Cristiano Ronaldo want that? Probably not. I think with Harry Maguire, it's a very similar thing. Have him as third choice centre back, and you need to defend some crosses. Okay, bring him back, bring him in for the team. Okay, you want to sit back a little bit. Okay, bring Harry Maguire in for 3 or 4 games. But obviously, you take in the not the England captain, but a high-profile player for England on big money. He's probably personally not going to want that himself. So it is an interesting dynamic. But before we wrap up the podcast, Larry, with 1 or 2 other points, obviously it is a match preview. Real Sociedad, we can't just win 1-0. We do need to win by 2 goals. So one, can you give us whether a score prediction or just a feeling ahead of the match? Can we get the job done by going there and doing what we don't often do in Spain?
Of course we can. I think we can get a result, and I think we can get a convincing result. Let's not forget the controversy that surrounded Real Sociedad's win at Old Trafford, a horrendous VAR decision. And as we've seen, it might prove to be extremely costly that United now have to go match day 6 and look to win this game at least by 2 goals. It just shows, when you have the benefit of technology, you got to get these things right. I don't want to sit here and turn this into a bash on VAR or referees or anything like that. They're human too, but when you've got the benefit of technology, you cannot get it wrong. United shouldn't even be in this position, Tom, because outside of that penalty at Old Trafford, they were never going to score against us. And it's a shame that it's come to this, but in saying that, if United can produce a result and finish top of the group, I think it might be the catalyst that pushes United to really achieve what we would consider a successful season. Because what would that do for the playing group? Be massive.
Oh, yeah, no, it's definitely a big one. And there's some confidence in the live chat. Matt here saying United by 3. Steve, good to see you, mate. We can go 3-0 against Real Sociedad. And George putting it all on the table, going 4-0 win. Wouldn't you love to see that? And look, there is a confidence under Erik ten Hag in regards to how we are approaching these games. And it will be interesting. Emad here saying we should have pumped him only a 6-0 in the first time and we wouldn't be in this position. Yeah, looks an interesting one in regards to how the goal difference works on head-to-head result. But obviously do need to sort of get a bit of revenge on Real Sociedad. And look, I'll share that confidence. I'm confident going there and getting a result. Can we win by 2? I'm not sure. That'll be interesting. Fingers crossed we can. And we can enjoy a bit of a Manchester United break without that stress of who we're going to play when we return after the World Cup, because the fixture congestion or the pile-up will be a mess for whoever sort of gets stuck in that bit of a group. I think there's still a chance Arsenal potentially go in second in the group. I think they needed to win against PSV last time out, but it'll be interesting. But we'll start to wrap up the pod, just Larry, with 1 or 2 other topics. If you are enjoying that, please do leave a like on the video. That'd be great. But Larry, a little bit of news I saw about a few hours ago. It'll be interesting in regards to the World Cup. Facundo Palestri's agent has come out, did an interview with ESPN Uruguay, saying if all things go to plan and Palestri has a good World Cup, which he's planning to, because obviously he's featured quite heavily for Uruguay in sort of the recent months. So if he thinks Palestri has a good World Cup and plays for Uruguay, he sees the immediate future for Palestri away from Old Trafford. And the only reason I bring that up is, one, what do you think of that? If that's Paul Pogba, we're absolutely losing our shit. What on earth is happening? That's Cristiano Ronaldo. We're saying, get out of our club. Palestri was saying, it's an interesting one here, because obviously he's not playing. But it's obviously the same thing. His agent leaking stuff to the media, or not even leaking, he had a direct interview with ESPN. But in regards to that, his name has always been on the tip of our tongue in regard to starting 11s. potentially, okay, he's maybe the next in line to have his debut, or not his debut, but sort of first appearance under Erik ten Hag. And he hasn't really got that chance now. Could he, not in this game against Sociedad, but in these remaining games, could Erik ten Hag potentially see that interview, say, well, hang on, do I want to keep him? Should I give him a few minutes here or there? Or will he see the interview by the agent and say, he's going behind my back. If he doesn't want to be at Man United, I'll let him go in January.
I think he'll push for a move, personally. I think it's clear he's checked out. And that's why when I look at his form, I don't know if it's his powers are waning or if he's struggling to find that intrinsic motivation to keep going. I think it's so clear that he doesn't want to be there, Tom. So that's why I want. And look, he wants to be in the Champions League. So I could see an element of that. Whether he secures a move, like we saw in the summer, no club came in for him. I guess what will be interesting, though...
Larry, we're talking about two different people.
Who are you talking about?
Pellistri.
Oh, Pellistri. Why am I talking about Ronaldo? Sorry, it's been a long day. Pellistri. I know he's part of the squad, but you know what? I could make this case, Tom. Pellistri, Iqbal, Savage, they're all at the club. None of them have gotten a look in. So I guess my question then for Ten Hag would be, I mean, obviously I won't get the chance to ask him. I'll ask Tom Hag. It's the next best thing. Tom, what is the point of keeping Pellistri, Iqbal, Savage, these younger players around if there's no intention to actually give them an opportunity? Do you think it might be to utilize them in the League Cup? And do you think maybe that's where we see these players get a chance? Or do you think it might have actually been a bit of a mistake from Ten Hag?
You have to, and look, there is a demand from us fans in regards to, okay, if you're not going to be in the first team, go get first team minutes elsewhere, like Hannibal or players like that do it. And obviously, there is a huge benefit to the loan system, which I agree, and you have to utilise to the best of your ability. But also, you do need to keep players around. One day, they're still going to play in the reserves. So they're still going to get their minutes. They're still going to get their development. They're still going to train with the first team. Now, obviously, minutes in the first team is obviously pivotal. And that is sort of the best learning curve over any under-21 football or any training with the first team. You do need that first team experience. However, you need to keep players around. Ideally, yes, you'd send a whole team out on loan and promote another youth setup through. However, how many first-team players we've got? 20. Okay, how many go on the bench? Okay, we've got 11. There's about 9 on the bench these days. So let's say you've got 20 involved in a match day squad. That's how many players we sort of have in and around, bouncing around. 4 of those are injured. We need to introduce these players. That's where these Zidane, Iqbal, Charlie Savage, Pellistris do come in. Now, I think it's unfortunate. I think that's where players like maybe Hannibal said stuff that I don't want that. I will force a move away. Maybe Charlie Savage and Iqbal sort of didn't have that. I wouldn't say ambition in a bad way or lack of ambition in a bad way, but maybe they're not at that stage of their career and that's not really what they want. And they're happy to sort of stay back. Maybe the coaches say another year of under-21 football and just training with the first team would be more beneficial. They obviously know more about it than us. I think we just sit here and say, yeah, go out and play. Or maybe they're not physically ready to go and handle a season of the championship. Maybe they're better suited at Carrington. I'm not sure. But in regards to keeping them around, I think that is why you do have to. It's unfortunate in regards to what we want a quick fix. We want to see a player progress and fast-tracked into the first team. But sometimes these are slow burners with some players.
And I sympathise with Ten Hag a little bit because I understand that it is a little bit difficult to blood young players when you're just trying to teach the first team squad how to play your way and get that confidence within the squad. And you get that confidence in the squad by allowing the same players to get an understanding, and they only get chemistry by playing together. So it is a difficult one. And I think we even saw it under Sir Alex and even Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to an extent where you can give younger players a chance once you've embedded what your philosophy is in the first team. So I understand from Ten Hag's point of view, but in saying that, if you knew that you weren't going to be able to give these guys an opportunity, I think a loan would have been the way to go.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think a few people mentioning Ahmad, obviously at Sunderland. I think he's had a very poor start or a slow start at Sunderland, but I think maybe he's starting to get to grips a little bit over the last couple of weeks from what I've heard. But Ahmad here saying I'd keep the academy players around for as long as possible, as long as we give them a chance. And look, it's such a weird season. About now, when the League Cup's coming around, this is when they'll be getting all their games or potential games. But obviously, we're going to break up and go to the World Cup. So it is interesting. You'd love to sit down with Erik ten Hag and talk about his decision-making on how those players did come about. But Larry, anything else before we start to wrap up in regards to the Sociedad match or any other bit of news that I may have missed?
Get the 3 points and crucially, get the goals. I want to see United turn it on, Tom. And that's why I actually think I've put Ronaldo there because I think that's what Ten Hag will do. I would not be surprised if he starts Martial. I think he's going to look to play the best football we can possibly play. And I think Martial allows us to do that. And if you need goals, whether Martial scores or not is irrelevant. I think because of what he can do to bring others into the game, given Sociedad will look to sit deep, I think he might actually start Martial if he's fit.
Yeah, look, I'd love to see Anthony Martial, and if fit, maybe we do get a bit of information in the press conference. If Martial is fit and ready, look, I would like to play him. Even over, as a fan of Ronaldo, I would play him over Ronaldo in this situation and have Ronaldo, we're 1-0 up, we need another goal with 20 minutes to go, bring Ronaldo on sort of thing. However, I just come back to that the debate we had a little bit earlier in regards to at what expense, if that is going to guarantee now, and hopefully it doesn't, and nothing is guaranteed. But if it was to guarantee he's going to be out over the next 3 games, well, are we not better at sort of fine-tuning Rashford through the number 9 role or something like that? So we'll be interested. Fingers crossed Martial is fit and he can stay fit, and if he does get the chance, does perform, because we need a performance, not just from the players at the back in regards to Harry Maguire or Lindelof, whoever it may be. This is going to be decided at the other end of the pitch. Even if we concede a goal, we're still going to have to go score 3. So it is going to be decided at the other end of the pitch. George confident in a bit of a Rashford hat-trick. That would be a story. And Steve here, I think Anthony Martial will be a super sub. It will be interesting in regards to that, Larry. Who is more suited to come off the bench in this situation, needing a goal, in regards to both the tying in the football and how you play, and also finishing the end product? Who would you be more confident in at the moment, needing a goal, coming off the bench to play together, like both will be on the field, but not starting, coming on after 70 minutes? Ronaldo or Anthony Martial? It's a hard one.
It is a hard one. I think if you bring Ronaldo off the bench, if you're going to look to, because I think with Martial we look to progress the ball. I think he can come a little bit deeper, almost as a false 9, and bring others into play, and then we look to get players beyond him, and then he can make late surges into the box, etc. I think with Ronaldo, what you can do, if you are chasing a goal, that's where you can actually throw Ronaldo on, because then the emphasis on perhaps crossing the ball or getting the ball to the byline actually changes. So I think you can change the point of attack more with Ronaldo off the bench. I think to play the way Ten Hag wants, it would make more sense actually to start Martial, but again, assuming he's fit.
That's a good point, and that's where I would take, as mentioned a little bit earlier, if you could take the personality and the ego away from Cristiano Ronaldo and the wages and everything, it'd be a fantastic option off the bench. You could just bring him on with 20 minutes to go, and he, literally no better player in world football for that. However, is he going to be happy with that? Probably not. Well, not even probably. We have the answer that he won't be. But Emad's got the correct answer. If you do need a goal in the Europa League, Scott McTominay is your man. Bring him on, and he will get the job done. It will be interesting. I think we'll just assume that midfield, Larry, is going to be Bruno, Eriksen, and Casemiro. Is there a potential shout in regards to... Now, I think it will be, and I don't think there is a potential shout elsewhere. But if you do want to throw a curveball, could you see a potential? Could you see Fred in there somewhere? Could you see McTominay in somewhere, or it just picks itself? Just in regards to maybe Aston Villa on the weekend and with the priority and the importance of that.
Well, I've come on here and I've said the reliance on Casemiro has been a little bit too much, hasn't it? I would like to see McTominay in there. I would personally, look, we saw McTominay, Eriksen deliver with a level of success so far this season. I would preferably opt to do that. I think Fred is just so limited. I would play Fred in a game where you know you're not going to keep the ball. If Ten Hag has accepted he's not going to have a fair share of possession, maybe that's the game for Fred. Other than that, he's not the player that you want in the midfield. I know he had a good game against Tottenham, but he also dropped an absolute clanger against Newcastle. That's Fred. He's hot and cold, and you want players that you can rely on. And Fred, for me, just isn't that guy.
It will be interesting now. I think we're all going into this game thinking, we're going to go dominate the game, which is a very sort of likely situation. But again, as I said, it is away in Spain. I know Sociedad aren't sort of setting the world on fire in the league, or I don't think they are from the last time I checked, but they are a Spanish team who will kick the ball at times when they can. So it will be interesting. I think we're all just assuming we're going to dominate. If Sociedad get on the game, they get on the ball, maybe they are the team that dominates, and maybe we sit a little bit deeper and try and catch them on the counter. It will be interesting how we do line up and how we do approach the match. But as I said, hopefully everyone did enjoy that preview. Plenty of interaction in the live chat, which we do truly appreciate. Plenty of different opinions, which is always good. Larry, always a pleasure, mate. Any other parting thoughts before we do wrap up? Obviously, the Friday Night Pint will return on Friday with a match review. Fingers crossed it's a positive one. But anything else before we wrap up?
No. Hopefully a positive result for United. Ultimately, that's what we want to see. But please slap Sociedad. I don't want to see David Silva smiling off that pitch. He's
I've
a
heard a
little
rumor.
bit.
I think maybe Rob potentially put it in the chat a little bit earlier, that not this chat, but a group chat, that David Silva is potentially out. Fingers crossed that is the case, because that is a player. And look, it's one of those players. Manchester City had a few of them in the last decade. You sort of didn't really like Liverpool players. You hate all the Liverpool players, but over that successful City team they had, there was one or two players you actually didn't hate. You think, yeah, David Silva seems like a nice guy, seems a good player, sort of thing. And David Silva is one of those players you didn't have a soft spot for, but he never really riled you up too much, sort of thing. But he's one player who just tore United apart week after week. Every time he played against United, I could see him when he's retired, he'd come back and just play in Stokes midfield and tear United a new one. Like he's a special player. So fingers crossed. Don't wish injury on anyone, but fingers crossed he is injured and he's not available. And Man United will have a far easier time in midfield. But until then, please do leave a like on the video on your way out. And until then, Larry and I will chat to you on Friday night, hopefully discussing a safe passage into the round of 16 and not the round of 32. But until then, have a good one, everyone, and we'll chat to you soon. Cheers.
Cheers.